Welcome back at 7:32. It was a very violent holiday weekend in the Southland. This morning, at least 21 people are dead, 26 injured in attacks throughout the area. Eric Spillman has been covering this story, and he joins us now live from Pacoima. Eric?
Well, Barbara, this was no holiday for the police. They were busy all weekend long, and their latest call was to this bar here on Van Nuys Boulevard in Pacoima, where several hours ago, several patrons got into an argument that turned violent. When it was over, one man was dead, another two were wounded, and it was just one of many incidents that occurred all over the Southland. In Anaheim, a young woman is rushed to the hospital by helicopter. She has been shot in the neck. Police have no witnesses and no explanation. Just one casualty in a weekend of violence, a weekend in which many of the victims are young children. 14-month-old Michelle Jones is the youngest to die. She and her family were in their own driveway on their way inside their Willowbrook home. Somebody drove by and fired a gun. The little girl died at the hospital. Her parents and an uncle are still there recovering from their wounds. In South Central LA, a bullet is fired into a house. Also from a passing car, a 4-year-old boy is critically injured. And in Walnut Park, a 17-year-old boy dies in his own backyard. Police say he was shot after he got into an argument with another teen. The toll from this weekend's violence, 20 people dead, another 26 or so injured, and about a half a dozen or so of those victims were young people. Barbara and Carlos?
Thank you, Eric, for that live report. Well, in a bizarre incident in East Los Angeles, a motorcyclist opened fire on a crowd of people, but he was thrown from the bike and killed when someone fired back. Carlos?
One more innocent victim of street violence. This time, a 4-year-old boy is in the hospital. He was shot last night at a home at 79th and Town Avenue in South Central Los Angeles. Police say a party was going on inside when shots rang out from a passing car. There were 40 or 50 people in the house, and one person was hit. The 4-year-old victim was hit in the chest by a bullet. He's listed in stable condition tonight. Police say they think the attack is gang-related, but they have no suspects in custody.
And police in South Central Los Angeles believe the shooting of a 4-year-old boy inside his South Side home was the work of a local gang member driving by the house. The unidentified toddler was rushed to Martin Luther King Hospital in critical condition. His present condition and the nature of his wound is unknown at this hour. Family members were gathered in the home at 79th Street and Town Avenue when the single bullet was fired through the family room window. The shooter, the suspects, got away. Unidentified
police now have their hands on a videotape that they hope will show who started an all-out gang fight in their city. 3 teenagers were injured in the weekend fracas, but as Channel 2's Dave Lopez reports, identifying any suspects may not be easy.
Just before 4 a.m. Sunday, residents in this Southgate neighborhood near Stanford and Ohio Avenues were awakened by loud noises, the breaking of glass, and gunfire. 2 rival Hispanic gangs going at it, right in the middle of the street. Witnesses and evidence left behind indicate it was a major gang fight. Police say anywhere from 15 to 20 gang members were involved. Shots were fired, rocks, bottles, broken glass used. One gang member was knifed. Another gang member shot in the leg, 50 pellets in his leg. He's still hospitalized. And one witness in the neighborhood came up to police after it was over and told police that he had videotape of what happened. But not so. This is the tape given Southgate police, shown from beginning to end, and it doesn't show much before going to black.
Are you going to be able to use that for anything at all?
Well, I don't know. Once we enhance it, maybe we can get some identification from it. I really don't know at this point.
One major newspaper headlined that the fight was actually captured on videotape. Obviously, an exaggeration.
Were you under the impression that the actual fight was recorded?
Well, we weren't under any kind of impression. We were just notified by the witness that said he had videotaped some of what had gone on in front of his house. Not till we saw the tape like you did we realize that not much was videotaped.
3 gang members were hospitalized, treated, and released, but they refused to answer any questions by police. In the neighborhood today, no one was talking, especially the person who took the videotape. Police say they believe the intentions of the person who took the videotape were good. The police also add, too bad the pictures aren't. From Southgate, Dave Lopez, Channel 2 Action News.
In South Central LA, a bullet hole in a window. That one also came from a passing car. It sent a 4-year-old boy to the hospital in critical condition. In Walnut Park, a 17-year-old boy is found dead in his backyard. Police say he was shot to death during an argument with another teen. And in Anaheim, a young woman is on her way to the hospital after she was shot in the neck. Police have no witnesses, no idea why. All told, violent crimes took the lives of at least 20 people in L.A. and Orange County over the weekend. Another 26 or so injured in shootings and stabbings and the like, and at least a half a dozen of those were under the age of 18. Carlos and Barbara.
Thank you, Eric, for that report. In East Los Angeles, a motorcyclist opened fire on a crowd of people, but he was thrown from the bike and killed when someone fired back. Barbara?
Carlos, Los Angeles police say they have a gang shooting on tape thanks to another amateur cameraman. The footage shows rival gangs fighting, including scenes of a teen being shot 50 times with a pellet shotgun. Investigators are hoping to use the videotape to track down those involved in the melee, which happened in a Southgate neighborhood. A flurry of residents called police, but by the time they showed up, most gang members had fled the scene. The video is expected to be released to the LA media later today.
It was another violent weekend here in Los Angeles. At least 20 people were killed, 28 others injured, and among the dead, a 14-month-old infant. Channel 2's Chris Blatchford reports.
And it's killed a baby.
It happened here in front of this Willowbrook home. Neighbors say at least 5 shots rang out as 4 members of the Jones family got out of their car. 3 of them hit by the gunfire.
It was a bloody mess, man. It was a bloody mess.
This neighbor, who did not want to give his name, says he ran outside after he heard the shots.
I seen 2 victims on the ground in front on the sidewalk and the other victim laying in the yard and the baby gasping for air as she was shot in the head. And it is terrible that they would ride by and kill an innocent kid.
But they did. And 14-month-old Michelle Jones was dead by the time paramedics got her to the hospital. Her mother, 21-year-old Katie Jones, was shot in the leg, and an uncle, John Jones, is still hospitalized in fair condition, also with a gunshot wound in the leg. One area resident who was here last night tells Channel 2 it all happened so quickly nobody knew what was going on. Detectives at the scene would only say a brown Jeep Wagoneer was seen speeding away. Homicide detectives have not said whether or not they have any suspects. Here at the Jones house today, no one wanted to talk with us about what happened last night. A bullet hole in a neighbor's window was the only remaining visible testimony to the tragedy. And a spokesman for the sheriff's department says it is unclear whether the family was intentionally targeted by the gunman. In Willowbrook, Chris Blatchford, Channel 2 Action News.
On a much more positive note, some rival gang members got together today to help wipe out graffiti. It was a rare display of cooperation when they gathered to clean up the corner of Venice and San Vicente Boulevards. It's part of a program headed by Football Hall of Famer Jim Brown.
These young men that are here today with their young people have worked voluntarily to do something about the killing, do something about jobs, to do something about bringing opposing gangs together.
The office of City Councilman Nate Holden donated $10,000 to help pay for the cleanup effort. A team of 10 people will continue the cleanup every Monday.
Sometimes big progress is measured in just little small steps.
It was a long and bloody holiday weekend in Southern California. At last count, 20 people were killed, another 28 injured by guns and knives in the hands of criminals. Tonight, Tony Valdez looks at the sense of helplessness that comes in the aftermath of so much violence.
This is another Blue Monday. Blue, like the color of a lifeless body. Blue is in the lights atop a police car marking the scene of more murder and mayhem. Blue, the mood in a home where a child has been critically wounded by a bullet from nowhere intended for no one in particular. We are all victims in one way or another, but are we also part of the problem? Consider this informal sampling of public opinion.
I'm disgusted with it. I think it's terrible, and it's a shame that we can't, have enough unity to, do something about it.
Fact of life, there are not enough police to be everywhere all the time. So safety is like charity. When we give of ourselves to those in need, it begins in the home, wherever that has to be.
There's nobody to really go to for help. And I plan on moving to Florida.
To Florida?
That's right.
Simply because of the violence here?
Yes. I've had break-ins in my place. I've been raped here. I've been mugged here a few weeks ago, and it's not safe anymore.
Fact of life, We are a changing society, and that profoundly affects our young people.
Those kids don't want to listen. They grow up as revolutionaries. They grow up revolutionaries, and they're dead revolutionaries.
Another fact of life, crime is only a symptom, and even when we are the victims of a disease like gang violence, most of us don't want to be part of the cure.
They don't really care. All they care about is drugs and money. They don't care if they die. So why should we?
The answer is a fact of gang life. Most youngsters say they run with their homies because it gives them a sense of belonging, a sense that somebody cares. In Los Angeles, I'm Tony Valdez.
Harvey joins us tonight.
Really good to be here, Jane. Well, our other top story to tell you about tonight is quite different from the rain. It's a violent weekend in L.A. and Orange counties. A bloody weekend that left 20 people dead, 28 others wounded. We have team coverage on 2 of these incidents.
Our first story is on the death of a toddler, just 14 months into this world, whose life of promise ended in a spray of gang gunfire. Our report from our Mary Grady.
Katie's cries of pain fill the small house in Willowbrook. She's looking for answers, but there are none. At 21, Katie Jones is already learning one of life's hardest lessons, the pain of losing a child.
My baby is dead. They killed my baby.
Michelet Jones was only 14 months old. Last night, she was gunned down. Michelet, her mother Katie, and 2 uncles had just come home. They were getting out of their car when tragedy struck. Sheriff's officials say a blue Jeep Wagoneer drove by and opened fire. Everyone was hit. The baby was killed. Her parents want to know why.
Angry, upset. I can't believe this has just happened.
My baby hasn't done anything to nobody because she was too young.
Right next door to the Joneses on this wall is the trademark of violence here in Los Angeles, gang graffiti. Was Michelet's death an act of gang retaliation? The Joneses say no. There are 9 children in the Jones family. They are proud of their accomplishments. One wall of the living room is lined with pictures of 6 high school and 1 college graduate. Wayne is the eldest. He says none of his brothers or sisters are involved in gangs.
If I ever hear that one of my brothers or my sister that's participating in gang activities, they have to see me. And I know that they don't want to see me. Because I'm the biggest and I'm the oldest, and I take care of business when it comes down to it.
That's why it's so hard for this family to understand why they would become targets and why little Michelet died.
They really took my soul, my heart, my reason for living from me.
In Willowbrook, I'm Mary Grady, Channel 9 News.
Well, there are no suspects yet in this shooting as Sheriff's Department investigators try to determine if gangs are behind it.
Our team